Welcome back. Our entire research team is joining in now to help us with a list of top 10 stocks for the day. All eyes will be on Godrej Consumer after they reported their numbers. Mangalam is here to tell us more about that. Mangalam, morning.
Good morning. So Godrej Consumer, if you just take a look at the reported numbers, they may appear that they are slightly below analyst expectations. But this time around, you give the analyst the benefit of doubt because of so many moving parts itself in the company's numbers. The EBITDA was impacted by company plowing back a little more on ad spends, and the net profit was also impacted by an exceptional loss of 82 crores on account of stamp duty. But no problems with the internals, and they're rather strong. The India volume growth has come in at 12%. That's a positive, of which the organic volume growth has been 10% itself. Gross margins have expanded by over 700 basis points. The company's plowed that back into ad spends, which have come at 9.3% of sales versus 6.4% earlier. The India business saw a revenue growth of 8%, but volume growth was much higher. The company has given price cuts to consumers, and the margins out there expanded from 22% to 32% itself. And the bigger trigger for them is scale-up of Park Avenue. They've done 48 crores of sales this time around, but the sales in the market, secondary sales, have been nearly 2x of that. So those are some positives. Expect the stock to be in the green, despite a mild miss on reported numbers.
All right, Mangalam, thanks for that. So internals look strong on Godrej Consumer. Let's hop across to Sonal. Sonal, what about Tata Chemicals? How are the numbers?
Well, on the margin front, Nigel, Tata Chemicals was better than estimated, and this has come in at a time when the company went ahead with soda ash price cuts in the quarter gone by. Revenues, they were up 5.5%, slightly lower than Kotak estimates. However, EBITDA was up 3%. Margins came in at 24.7% versus an expectation of 23.2%. Profits were down 8% to come in at 587 crore rupees. The company says higher revenues were led by higher realizations, but volumes were impacted. Their net debt, however, has increased on a quarter-on-quarter basis. Morgan Stanley says the company reported highest ever EBITDA as margins surprised positively, offsetting lower volumes. The con call is at 8:30, and we'll get you more details on this one.
All right, thanks very much, Sonal, for that. Well, Max Healthcare reported numbers, and so did Torrent Pharma. Ekta is here with both. Ekta, morning.
Thanks for that. Well, I'll start with Max. Good performance coming in for the hospital company. Revenue was up around 17%, margins 26.7%, profit up 27%, and that was driven by the average revenue per occupied bed, which was up 13% year on year. Occupancy was flat year on year, lower Q on Q, but the average revenue per occupied bed made up for it. International patient revenue was up 31% year on year. Cash on books remains strong at 957 crores. Torrent, largely in-line set of numbers, revenue up 10%, margins 30.5%, profit up 7%. But India did well, double-digit growth there led by the Curatio acquisition. Adjusted growth in Brazil was stable, up around 12%. Germany was up 21%. US sales were better than estimates at 36 million versus estimates of 34 to 35 million. And that's the reason I'm going for green for both these stocks. Good performance for both of them.
Okay, thanks a lot for that. Max and Torrent looking pretty good. Surabhi is joining in to tell us how PB Fintech did this quarter around. Surabhi, over to you.
Thanks so much for that. So PB Fintech reported a strong revenue growth of 32% now, which is largely led by the core online business. In a seasonally weak quarter, they've grown over 39% in that segment. The new initiative segment grew by 11%. The adjusted EBITDA has come in at 23 crores versus a loss of 66 crores same time last year. But sequentially, it has seen a decline of 5 odd crores. Now, most of the growth has come from the online business, which reported an adjusted EBITDA of 69 crores versus 64 crores in the previous quarter and just 5 crores same time last year. New initiatives losses have narrowed on a year-on-year basis, but sequentially they have expanded marginally. The adjusted EBITDA margin was flat sequentially. The net loss is at now 12 crores versus a loss of 204 crores same time last year. The stock has rallied close to 14% this month itself, so let's see which way it goes. But strong numbers coming in from PB Fintech.
Okay, all right. Thanks a lot for that, Surabhi. Well, let's hop across to Ekta. She's standing by to tell us about some of those pharma-related names that came out with numbers. Ekta?
Well, I'm definitely watching Gland today because I think it was an excellent recovery that they've shown on a Q-on-Q basis as well as on a year-on-year basis. So revenue was up 41% year-on-year. Street was anticipating a 34% growth. Margins 24% versus 31.5%, but it's been a Q-on-Q recovery, which I'll come to in just a minute. Profit was down 26%, but it was in line with estimates. Q-on-Q revenue 1,209 versus 784.
Okay, Ekta, I can't hear you, so I think we'll have to sort of just come back to you in a bit. But those are a whole host of, stocks that are in the news. Mangalam is also with us to talk about Indigo Paints. That one looked like a strong showing, Mangalam.
It was a strong showing. In fact, the result of the season in the paint sector for sure, because it's the fastest growth in the industry. It's among the smaller players. It's grown 3 times the industry growth rate. And the company has had a differentiated focus on Tier 1 and Tier 2 cities, and that's aided the growth itself. I mean, just for perspective, Indigo Paints grew 29% in the first quarter, and we have numbers from Kansai and Asian Paints. Both of them had grown anywhere between 5 to 7% itself. Has that 29% growth on the top line percolated down to the bottom line? Yes, and more. The EBITDA has actually jumped by 39%, and the net profit has increased by 58% as well. Ad spends for the company have been curtailed from 9.4% of sales to 7.6%, but this is on a pro rata basis. As against absolute numbers, they've been largely unchanged year on year. Good set of numbers. See the stock in bright green.
All right, at 9:50 a.m. today, we'll be joined by Hemant Jalan, the Chairman and Managing Director at Indigo Paints. So you'd want to listen into that one after a good set of numbers. But Ekta is back with us to talk about Gland, Pharma and MedPlus. Ekta, go ahead.
Well, Gland Pharma expect the stock to be in the green because it's been a Q-on-Q recovery. Margins 24% versus 31% year-on-year, but versus 21% on a Q-on-Q basis. Profit also largely in line with estimates, but the revenue was up 41% year-on-year. That was aided by US revenue, which was up 25% Q-on-Q. They've seen improvement in terms of volumes. Price erosion has stabilized. Europe has been strong because of a latest acquisition that they made recently. India was up 29% year-on-year. Rest of the world, which is 24% of sales, was up 193% year-on-year, was up 72% Q-on-Q. So it's been a clear outperformance in terms of what they have reported this time round. Now, in terms of MedPlus, it's pretty much been a stable set of numbers except for the revenue, which has been strong. So that's why I'm going for green. Revenue up 29%, margins 5.6 versus 5.3%, profit 3.78 versus 3.2 crores year-on-year.
All right, Ekta, thanks very much for that. Well, let's get back to banking. HDFC Bank is, I think, now, after that merger, part of the FTSE indices, and Manappuram Finance will also be in focus. Abhishek is here with both. Abhishek.
Well, Prashant, to begin with HDFC Bank, it was added to the relevant FTSE indices post the merger with HDFC Limited. So, in September 23 review, FTSE Russell will evaluate the eligibility status of HDFC Bank. This would include review of the shares that is there, free float and foreign headroom. Based on public information, the foreign headroom is about 18.3%, which satisfies minimum foreign headroom requirement for an index constituent. So, HDFC Bank is projected to increase weight in FTSE emerging all cap index from 0.81% to about 1.52%. Value-wise, I just saw the 31st July data. It would mean an additional $52.3 million inflow into HDFC Bank. So, to ensure replicability of the impacted indices, FTSE Russell proposes to implement the upweight of HDFC Bank in 3 tranches from September 23 to March 24, which is up on your screen. Another news is that Asirvad Microfinance over there, they have given the operational update. The NII is up about 90% YOY and about 28% sequentially. The NPA provisions have jumped up on a sequential basis by almost 61% quarter on quarter. However, the PAT is pretty robust over there, coming in at 161 crore when compared to 99.3 crore in the previous quarter, which is a jump of about 62%. Asset quality, slight hiccup over there, but seasonal in nature. Gross NPA is up to 2.9% versus 2.8%, and net NPA ratio up to 1.3% versus 1.1% in the previous quarter. Back to you.
All right, thanks a lot for that. Here's a quick recap of our top stocks with positive news flow. There's Godrej Consumer, Tata Chemicals, Max Healthcare, Torrent Pharma, PB Fintech, Gland Pharma, MedPlus Health, Indigo Paints, HDFC Bank and Manappuram Finance. While news-wise, there are no stocks on the radar with negative news flow. But let's find out what's happening in the world of commodities. Manisha Gupta joins in for a roundup of all the action there. Manisha, morning.
Morning, Sonia. Thank you for that. Well, the crude oil prices seem to have rebounded after a 1% decline overnight, as the market are looking at uncertain demand on one side, but then again, there are tightness in sense of supplies, especially coming in from Saudi Arabia and Russia. You also have seen production and inventories decline in US, while the demand continues to be on the steadier side. It's what's supporting crude prices. So we are back above $85 a barrel in Asian markets right now. The street is watching out for the U.S. Consumer Price Index. That comes on Thursday, and the PPI number on Friday. So it is going to be about the inflation numbers from China and U.S. that will drive the markets. While the crude prices have done well, can't say the same about the metals other sector, because whether you look at copper, aluminum, iron ore, steel, all of these have started Asia on a weaker note because of the strength in U.S. dollar.
All right, Manisha, thanks very much for that. Well, we'll take a quick commercial break here. Amisha Vora of Prabhudas Lilladher will join in for some fundamental stock check. We'll have the management of Kolte Patil developers to talk about the quarter gone by and the guidance they've put out for FY24. Stay tuned.